Part 37. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 361. Chapter 361. Can we have dinner together? Chu Sensio has already seen the ending, and the murderer is indeed that good friend. Chu Sensio couldn't help but admire Xia Ying. He admired her so much that he admired her on the sofa. Cousin Sakura, you are so amazing, so amazing. Chu Sensio was so surprised that he was at a loss for words. Xia Ying smiled and said, I told you a long time ago. Who asked her to remember the plot? After watching the variety show, Chu Sensio started playing with his mobile phone out of boredom, while Xia Ying was still looking for other TV programs to watch. At this time, Chu Sensio suddenly discovered that Tanguo had sent him a message. Chu Sensio, do you still remember me? My name is Tanguo. I will return to China in a few days. Can I have dinner with you? Chu Sensio raised his eyebrows, and a faint teasing smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Tanguo is indeed a girl who grew up in the United States and received American education. She is indeed different from Chinese girls. First, he asked for his phone number, and then asked him to have dinner. It was difficult for Chu Sensio to pretend that he didn't know that Tanguo was interested in him. This little girl is just about to confess her love now. Wait, isn't she planning to come back and confess her love to him? Chu Sensio frowned when he thought of this. This is not good, it is too troublesome. He doesn't want to waste his good time on boring and time-wasting things like falling in love. But Chu Sensio couldn't bear to reject such a cute little loli. Forget it, it was just a meal, why did he think so much? Just eat, what else can this little loli do to him? Chu Sensio thought so and replied, okay. Tanguo had been waiting for Chu Sensio's reply with her cell phone. After Chu Sensio replied to her, Tanguo held her cell phone and laughed stupidly on the sofa. It's great. I really want to return to China as soon as possible and have dinner with Chu Sensio as soon as possible. Tanguo decided that she would seize the time to get acquainted with Chu Sensio and then confess to him. Such an outstanding person as Chu Sensio must be coveted by many girls. If she didn't take action early, Chu Sensio would definitely be snatched away by others. Luo Xian was on her way home at this time. She looked out the window at the bright lights and greenery. The street outside was very noisy, but somehow, she was sitting alone in the car, but she was very calm. During the days after leaving Xiachuanhai, Luo Xian had been filling his schedule with all kinds of things. She practiced yoga, learned flower art, and met many friends. She drank afternoon tea with them like any other wealthy lady, chatting about the latest fashion trends and talking about their children. It seems that her life without Xiachuanhai seems to be extremely fulfilling and exciting. But only Luo Xian knew that when it was late at night, she would lie alone on the bed. Sometimes she would habitually turn over in the middle of the night and prepare to put her arm on the person next to her, but she found that she had failed. There was nothing around him, and Luo Xian suddenly woke up and realized that Xiachuanhai was no longer there. Luo Xian had a strict upbringing and had little contact with the opposite when she was a child. She was an honest girl who studied hard. In high school, there were many people in the class who fell in love early, but Luo Xian always thought that was bad. It's probably been taught since childhood that falling in love before the age of 18 is bad, it means falling in love early, and falling in love early is wrong behavior. So it wasn't until college that Luo Xian first fell in love. At that time, Xiachuanhai and other Luo Xian suitors were pursuing her eagerly. Thank you little cutie Nanjiu. More rewards. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 362. Chapter 362. She is still attached to him. Luo Xian naturally noticed the handsome and humorous Xiachuanhai, but she didn't express her feelings until graduation. Before, She had always treated Xia Chuanhai like anyone else. At that time, almost no one could tell that she actually liked Xia Chuanhai, and Xia Chuanhai himself was kept in the dark. In a sense, Xia Chuanhai is the only man Luo Xian likes so far. As a woman, she gave all the most beautiful things to Xia Chuanhai. So how could she forget such a person so easily? It is precisely because Luo Xian is relatively conservative in her own requirements. Xia Chuanhai betrayed her, so she could not forgive him no matter what. Even though he was, she still loved him and could not forget him. But the stubbornness in her heart just doesn't allow herself to forgive easily. The driver drove the car to the garage, and Luo Xian walked on a path in front of Xia's house. However, before walking very far, Luo Xian saw a figure standing next to the street lamp closest to Xia's house from a distance, staring motionlessly in the direction of Xia's house. The Xia family was brightly lit at the moment, and the figure stood there motionless like a sculpture. Luo Xian shook her eyes, paused, and looked at it several times before she dared to confirm that it was the Xia Chuanhai she was thinking about just now. Although she recognized it at first sight, she couldn't believe it. But now, the facts are before our eyes. Just why did Xia Chuanhai come to the Xia family suddenly? And looking at him like this, he didn't look like he was going in. It seemed like he was just staring there blankly. Luo Xian stayed where he was, not taking a step for a long time. He had been silently looking at the tall figure under the dim street light. The man she had been unable to let go of for so many years. She is really hopeless. Even though she was betrayed, she actually still has nostalgia for him. Luo Xian thought so, and clenched her hands into tight fists. Approximately 10 minutes later, Xia Chuanhai left from under the streetlight. He walked forward alone with his head lowered, until he reached a fork in the road and left. He did not look back, nor did he turn his head to see Luo Xian on the other road. He just lowered his head silently, immersed in his own sorrow, and walked away silently. He would often come over at night to take a look at this home, the home he had devoted so much to and loved so deeply. Because of his mistakes in his youth, he has gradually estranged himself from the family. Even though he was still attached to them, he had no face to see Xia Ying and Luo Xian again. Luo Xian watched Xia Chuanhai's figure gradually move away, until it disappeared into the night and could no longer be seen. Luo Xian withdrew his gaze. But even she didn't notice that her eyes were already wet at this moment. Luo Xian shook his head, took a deep breath, adjusted his emotions and breathing, and then walked toward Xia's house with solid steps. When Luo Xian got home, Xia Ying, Chu Shenxiu and Chu Shengming were sitting around on the blanket in the living room, playing chess together. Xia Ying looked at Chu Shengming and Chu Shenxiu. Chu Shengming was calm and composed the whole time, while Chu Shenxiu was frowning deeply. Why is he always the loser? He has never beaten Chu Shengming since he was a child. You must know that he was the first to learn chess, and then relied on Chu Shengming to play with him. Who would have thought that less than half an hour after Chu Shengming learned it, he would be crazy all the way? The path of brutal Chu Shenxiu. Chu Shenxiu. Why don't you give me some face in front of cousin Sakura? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 363. Chapter 363, Being Reduced to Spending My Birthday Alone. I don't want to play anymore, I don't want to play anymore, I'm angry. Chu Shenxiu stood up in anger and lost his temper like a child. Chu Shenxiu sat down on the sofa, folded his hands and sulked. Chu Shengming looked as expected, without any emotion on his expression. He has long been used to it. Chu Shenxiu has always liked to seek abuse since he was a child, and then he becomes childish when he loses. However, it will be ready in 10 minutes. So Chu Shengming was not in a hurry, just looked at his watch and waited for 10 minutes to pass. Xia Ying was smiling happily at the side. This big turtle dove really looked like a 3-year-old child. But, to be honest, he did lose miserably just now. Xia Ying did not deny that Chu Shenxiu was good at chess, but he had forgotten that his brother was a genius with a high IQ. You can learn something once you learn it. So if he has any skills in the future, he must not be allowed to learn them. Xia Ying turned sideways and looked at Luo Xian. She noticed that Luo Xian had been looking preoccupied since she first walked in, and now she was sitting alone on the sofa in a daze. Luo Xian held a glass of warm milk in her hand, but she never touched it, she just held it in her hand. Xia Ying stood up and walked towards Luo Xian. Xia Ying put her hand on Luo Xian's shoulder and asked her in a low voice, "Mom, what's on your mind?" Luo Xian was slightly stunned. She actually didn't hide her emotions and let Xia Ying see it. Luo Xian curled her lips and showed a half-bitter smile. "It's okay, I just felt a little sad thinking about the movie I just watched." "Oh, okay." Xia Ying took out her mobile phone, asked Luo Xian to put on the headphones, and then played her a cheerful piano music to relax her mood. It is Tanguo's Girl's First Love. Several songs have become popular in the San Diego music competition. Xia Ying's songs have been copyrighted by many music websites so that netizens can enjoy them. Luo Xian was listening quietly to the side, Xia Ying was accompanying her, and Luo Xian smiled tenderly at Xia Ying. "Wow, today is the birthday of the arrogant young master Junda." Chu Shenxiu suddenly looked at his cell phone and mumbled something. At this time, Chu Shengming lowered his head slightly and looked at the time. Well, it was 10 minutes again this time. Xia Ying glanced at Chu Shenxiu and said, "The village only has internet access. It was already on the hot search yesterday." "Oh," Chu Shenxiu said, "I don't check Weibo every day." Chu Shenxiu then looked at it, sighed again, and said with half regret and half pity, "Tisk tisk tisk, young Master Jun is a big star after all, but his birthday is reduced to spending his birthday alone on the Bund, and he is also beaten by the Almighty. The paparazzi's secret photo was exposed. If I had known, I would have gone to accompany him. It's really heartbreaking to see this poor little back." When Chu Shenxiu said this, Xia Ying was slightly startled and froze. Jun Chenai is celebrating his birthday alone on the Bund, right now? Late at night? So he just called her because he really wanted her to spend his birthday with him, just by herself. Xia Ying frowned. Because of what happened to Yu Lingfeng last time, everyone in Guanyang Middle School now knew that Xia Ying had a boyfriend, and that person was Yu Lingfeng. Jun Chenai naturally thought so too, but Xia Ying thought that the last time Jun Chenai confessed to her, Yu Lingfeng's sudden appearance had completely given up on Jun Chenai, but she didn't expect that Jun Chenai was still obsessed with it. Xia Ying's face darkened, she moved her lips, but didn't say anything. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 364. Chapter 364, Feeling Sorry for Jun Chenai. The next day, the national male idol Jun Chenai was alone on his birthday, and the gossip news about him spending a night alone on the Bund was overwhelming. Jun Chenai was so angry that his heart almost stopped. It was already very pitiful for a person to celebrate his birthday alone, but the media wanted to expose his scars. Is this a way to tell the whole world that Jun Chenai has been abandoned? Hence, Jun Chenai took leave without hesitation and did not go to class. He was too embarrassed to go to class. His shame was now known to everyone. Jun Chenai's fans are all feeling sorry for Jun Chenai online. As a result, Jun Chenai's fans gloriously changed the #1 search list from Jun Chenai was alone on his birthday to feeling sorry for Jun Chenai. Jun Chenai almost vomited blood when he saw it, and now the entire internet is feeling sorry for him. "I feel so sorry for you, What does it have to do with you? I just like to celebrate my birthday alone, young master. What's the point of feeling sorry for me? The more Jun Chennai thought about it, the angrier he became, and his whole body was about to explode. However, at this time, Rong Si slowly walked up to him and made some sarcastic remarks. Rong Si looked at Jun Chennai with a bad smile, holding 2 glasses of orange juice in his hand, and was about to hand one to Jun Chennai, but Jun Chennai refused with a bad face. Eldest nephew, you are really making your brother-in-law feel distressed by the way you look like this. Jun Chennai threw a pillow at him and yelled angrily with a dark face, don't mention such nonsense to me. Rong Si smiled happily, and then sat on the sofa nearby, staring at Jun Chennai with a smile. Eldest nephew, you said, instead of doing this, you should have lived with your brother-in-law and me. I made a cake for you so thoughtfully, but you didn't even eat it, it's really a waste. Jun Chennai rolled his eyes at Rong Si. It's not that the ingredients are the same as a cake, so it's called a cake. Besides, your cake hasn't been formed at all, so you still have the nerve to say it? There is no intention at all. Rong Si smiled, hey, you still dislike my cake. You didn't even eat the cake yesterday. Jun Chennai glared at Rong Si. Are you sincerely angry with me? Ha ha ha. Rong Si smiled unbridled and said, I won't say it anymore, let's talk about your little fiancé, are you completely obscene? Jun Chennai said nothing with a straight face. Don't tell him about this. The more you tell him, the more angry he becomes. He dialed Xia Ying's number. He thought about the reason for more than half an hour, and before he could use it, she stopped him with one sentence and made it clear that he would never answer his call again. It seems that Xia Ying is determined to reject him this time and completely stop thinking about him. Rong Si curled his lips and finally knew the answer, there are so many outstanding girls waiting for you to pick them up. It's okay. Without this tree, you still have a whole forest. Jun Chennai didn't take it seriously, and stood up without intending to talk to Rong Si. He said as he walked, if I can't chop down this tree, why do I need a forest? Rong Si sighed helplessly. He was young and had a deep understanding of emotions. He had always wanted to bring Jun Chennai and Xia Ying together, thinking that his eldest nephew had finally started falling in love, so he had to work hard to make it happen. As a result, it turned yellow, just like that. I don't know how long it will take for him to get over this emotional pain. But one thing is that Rong Si must ensure that Jun Chennai gets married before he is 22 years old. To be the heir to the Jun family, the responsibilities that Jun Chennai has to shoulder far exceed Jun Chennai's current imagination. Let's make a complaint. I wrote that Xia Ying and Jun Chennai had a better relationship, but you said that Xia Ying was entangled with him. Now I write that she rejected him, and you said that she is cruel. I really don't understand your thoughts, let alone, if you don't like it, you have to be decisive, otherwise Jun Chennai will only be hurt more deeply in the future. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 365. Chapter 365, Feeling Embarrassed and Not Coming to School. Most of the real power of the Jun family is now in the hands of Jun Chennai's uncle. This was also the arrangement made by Mr. Jun before his death. Before Jun Chennai was not able to shoulder the important responsibilities of the Jun family, the head of the Jun family was Jun Chennai's uncle. Although the eldest uncle is in charge of the Jun family, Jun Chennai, as the first choice heir, is still watched covetously. The current Jun family is calm on the surface, but in fact there is an undercurrent. Rong Si has already calculated that Jun Chennai must take real power before he is 22 years old. Otherwise, if the Jun family changes drastically, Jun Chennai will be in danger. The various branches of the Jun family are not easy to mess with, and each one has long wanted to rebel. The will states that until Jun Chennai is able, The eldest uncle will temporarily take charge of the entire Jun family business. But what does it mean to be capable? In Rong Si's opinion, as long as Jun Chennai gets married and starts a business, he can shoulder the important responsibilities of the family. He just has the ability. That's why Rong Si pays so much attention to Jun Chennai's love life. It's just that Xia Ying, whom he finally fell in love with, now has no hope. Xia Ying is a smart and capable girl. If she becomes the mistress of the Jun family in the future, she will definitely be beneficial to the Jun family. Moreover, behind Xia Ying is the Xia family, a large family, and they can help Jun Chennai when the time comes. No matter from which aspect, Xia Ying is the best candidate. But now, this good candidate is completely hopeless. Rong Si had to choose other girls for Jun Chennai again, but most likely he would not like Jun Chennai's personality. Rong Si sighed and took a big sip of orange juice, feeling a little tired. In Guangyang Middle School, everyone was talking a lot because of Jun Chennai's sudden absence. Young Master Jun, do you feel embarrassed and don't want to come to school? Young Master Jun is really pitiful. It feels so bad to spend your birthday alone. I really don't understand why Mr. Jun spends his birthday alone. He should have many friends, right? I don't know, so I think it's strange, but I really feel sorry for Mr. Jun. Xia Ying lowered her head silently as she listened to the discussions among the people around her. Suddenly I felt very guilty, and started to feel a deep sense of guilt. Originally, I wanted to come over today to apologize to Jun Chennai and explain it clearly, but as a result, he asked for leave today and didn't come. Xia Ying raised her forehead and felt helpless, unable to finish her homework. At this time, Ye Xiaoxun turned his head and looked at Xia Ying and asked, Xia Ying, do you know why Mr. Jun went to the Bund alone for his birthday? I thought he would have a luxurious birthday dinner. Everyone will be searching for Jun Chennai because of his extravagant birthday dinner, but the hot search aroused the sympathy of the entire internet. Xia Ying hesitated for a long time, not knowing how to answer, so she changed the subject and said, Xiao Sun, when did you start caring about these gossips? Ye Xiaoxun smiled and said, no, it's just that Jun Chennai always sits behind me, and I'm more familiar with him, so I'm more curious. Well, I don't know what he thinks. When Xia Ying said this, her eyes were wandering and she felt a little guilty. As for Mu Niankai, she was also blaming herself and regretting what happened to Jun Chennai. If he hadn't told Xia Ying Jun Chennai's plan in advance, Jun Chennai's birthday wouldn't have been so miserable. However, when Mu Niankai thought about what happened if Jun Chennai really made any progress after spending one night with Xia Ying, she suddenly felt that she had done nothing wrong. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 366. Chapter 366 I came to China. The girl named Mo Rongrong has been following Mu Niankai like a follower recently. Mu Niankai was thirsty, so she hurriedly went downstairs to buy water for her. Mu Niankai was hungry, so she hurried to the supermarket to serve her something delicious. No matter how frustrated she felt, she could only give in. If she enters the police station twice in 2 months, not to mention Guangjiang's teachers and classmates, even the police uncle will have to know her rhythm. Mu Niankai is a person who holds grudges, so of course she will torture Mo Rongrong to death until her hostility is completely eliminated. She had done a good deed. Under Mu Niankai's devilish training, no matter how violent and lawless a person was, she could eventually become as gentle as a little white rabbit. Sun Han is a good example. But every time Mu Niankai saw Mo Rongrong, she would think of the favor she owed Xia Ying. She had thought about talking to Xia Ying, telling her what she thought, and telling her that she actually didn't hate her. She was just jealous, she was such a bad girl, she couldn't control her jealousy towards Xia Ying. Mu Niankai thought this, holding her head with her hands, staring at Xia Ying's back in front of her, and unknowingly, she fell into deep thought. Xia Ying turned around inadvertently and met Mu Niankai's eyes. Xia Ying shook her head and looked at Mu Niankai for 2 seconds. Both parties quickly turned around and shifted their gazes. Mu Niankai suddenly felt that she had become cowardly. She no longer even had the courage to look at Xia Ying. She was really hopeless. Tang Guo arrived in China. As soon as he got off the plane, he couldn't help but want to see Chu Sensiu. Tang Guo stood on the land of China, stretched out her arms, closed her eyes, and took a deep breath of the breath from her hometown. Since all his family members have settled in the United States, they rarely have the opportunity to come to China, but this does not affect Tang Guo's deep love for the land of China. When Tang Guo came to China, the first thing he wanted to do was not go home. Instead, he hurriedly called Chu Sensiu and arranged a meeting with him. Although she has Chu Sensiu's mobile phone number, she has never called him. After all, the two of them were not very familiar with each other, and she was always afraid that she would disturb Chu Sensiu. Are girls who are too proactive easily annoying? Tang Guo had a lot of worries. Every time she was about to click call, she immediately pulled back. But after coming to China, she didn't know whether it was because she was overwhelmed by the joy of not going home for a long time or because of an inexplicable sense of confidence. She just wanted to contact Chu Sensiu and meet him as soon as possible. Ever since the last farewell at the San Diego music competition, she hadn't seen Chu Sensiu for a long time. She followed Chu Sensiu's Weibo, then visited his Weibo every day and silently liked it. But Chu Sensiu rarely posts photos, so Tang Guo really misses him. Sometimes love is really a wonderful thing. You have only seen that person once, and you don't even know what kind of person he is, but you fall in love with him without hesitation. Then in the days to come, this person was all in my mind. A long time passed on Chu Sensiu's end. Just when Tang Guo became depressed and thought that Chu Sensiu was unwilling to answer her call, Chu Sensiu's magnetic voice came over. "Hey, little candy, what's going on?" Chu Sensiu's sweet words simply touched Tang Guo's heart. Tang Guo was surrounded by the sudden happiness and almost forgot to respond. Thanks to the little cutie Y and Milk Fairy Ruan Zioki for the reward. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 367. Chapter 367. Let's meet now. Until Chu Sensiu said something low and tactful, huh. Tang Guo suddenly reacted and wanted to answer, "Oh, Chu Sensiu, I came to China, do you remember that I said I wanted to treat you to dinner?" Chu Sensiu frowned, going through the memories like a slideshow in his mind, and thought for a while, "Oh, that's what happened." He thought the little girl was just saying something polite, but he didn't expect that she took it seriously. Then, "When do you have time?" Tang Guo held her breath and waited quietly for Chu Sensiu's answer as if she were waiting for a trial. "I am available at any time, it depends on your arrangement." Chu Sensiu answered casually, but as soon as he finished speaking, Tang Guo on the other end of the phone said in surprise, "Then let's meet now." "Ah." Chu Sensiu frowned and was surprised for a moment. Tang Guo realized something was wrong after she finished speaking. Was she too excited? Would it scare Chu Sensiu? Tang Guo thought so, lowered her voice again, and said in a low voice, I mean, eat. All right. Chu Sensiu looked casual. Then Bright Pearl, we agreed to meet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Chu Sensiu lowered his head and glanced at his watch. It was almost 2 o'clock now. After hanging up the phone, Chu Sensiu stretched lazily. It is said that his current life in China consists of eating, sleeping, going to school, and sticking to Xia Ying. It seems that he has no private life of his own. When he came to China, apart from meeting Jun Chenai and Yu Lingfeng, there were two people he needed to be wary of at all times. It seemed that he really didn't have many friends. It would be nice to develop a friendship with that cute little loli Tanguoer. Chu Sensio has a good impression of that little loli. However, he was afraid that that little loli had another meaning for him. Chu Sensio shrugged and stopped thinking about it, then turned around to find Xia Ying and tell Xia Ying that he was going out in the afternoon. Xia Ying was practicing in the piano room at the moment, and Chu Sensio walked directly in the direction of her. Chu Sensio stood at the door of the piano room, looking at the graceful girl with long flowing hair in front of the piano. However, Chu Sensio originally thought he could hear a piece of beautiful piano music, but he discovered that there was no sound along the way. When he came over, he realized who his cousin Xiaoying was actually calling. Chu Sensio frowned. Cousin Sakura has learned to be lazy. Is that okay? Without saying a word, Chu Sensio stepped forward and asked Xiaoying, Cousin Xiaoying, who are you talking to on the phone? Are you smiling so happily? Xiaoying's originally smiling face immediately fell. She was a little surprised by Chu Sensio's sudden approach. Xia Ying raised her head and looked at Chu Sensio, feeling a little at a loss for a moment. Looking at Chu Sensio's expression, why did she feel like she was being raped? Just good friends. Xia Ying said hesitantly. Yu Lingfeng. Chu Sensio raised his eyebrows. Xia Ying's face darkened. Why do you have trouble with Yu Lingfeng all day long? I told you that I was on the phone with a good friend, it was Ye Xiaoxun, and you didn't even recognize me. Chu Sensio's tense face immediately softened a lot after hearing the feminine name Ye Xiaoxun. I know you, cousin Sakura, I know all your good friends. Chu Sensio looked quite proud. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 368. Chapter 368 is the cold Yu Lingfeng. Just when Xia Ying was about to say something back to him, Chu Sensio snatched Xia Ying's cell phone and greeted Ye Xiaoxun on the other end of the phone. Hey, Xiaoxun, hello, I'm Xia Ying's 13th cousin Chu Sensio. Chu Sensio said to the other end with a smile. Xia Ying stood aside with a dark face and swallowed silently without speaking. But at this moment, my heart suddenly felt cold. How could this big turtle dove do this? How could he suddenly steal her phone number? Chu Sensio originally thought that the other end of the phone would receive an equally enthusiastic response, but after waiting for half a minute, there was nothing. It was so quiet that Chu Sensio thought the other party had hung up. Chu Sensio frowned, first thinking, could this Ye Xiaoxun be his little crush? Are you so excited that you can't speak when you hear your idol speak? However, when Chu Sensio glanced at Xia Ying, whose face was turning green with embarrassment, with a confused look on his face, he suddenly had an epiphany. Then, Chu Sensio put down his mobile phone and stared at the screen of the mobile phone, reading the note, it's the cold Yu Lingfeng. This guy is not Ye Xiaoxun, he is obviously Yu Lingfeng, okay. Xia Ying actually gave him such a cute nickname, so what? Xia Ying was about to reach out to grab her phone, but Chu Sensio immediately turned around and stopped her. Then he looked through Xia Ying's address book to see what note she had left for him. Dearest mommy. My dear grandpa who loves to laugh. Good-tempered older cousin. The sinister 12th cousin. Chu Sensio looked around and found that everything seemed pretty good. It turned out that Yu Lingfeng was not a special case. Until, Chu Sensio's eyes were fixed on. Big turtle dove that looks like a brain-dead person. Chu Sensio's face immediately darkened. Moron. 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 There is no acridine yet. What is wrong with him? Chu Sensio put his cell phone on the piano stand, then said to Xia Ying angrily with a drooped face, I'm angry now, and I want to run away from home. Chu Sensio said, turned around and left. Xia Ying, half embarrassed and half guilty, called out to Chu Shenxiu, "Big turtle dove, please stop, I'm just joking with you. I like you too." When Chu Shenxiu heard this, he was stunned. Xia Ying's smile gradually brightened. "Ha, I knew this method would work." Chu Shenxiu was always easy to coax. It's just that Chu Shenxiu actually learned smarter this time. Humph, I must have lied to him, it happened every time, but secretly, he still didn't take his cousin seriously. This time, he was really angry. The kind of anger that even 9 cows can't bring back. Chu Shenxiu immediately took steps and walked very fast. He was afraid that if he stayed any longer and Xia Ying said some nice things, he would relent. Xia Ying held her forehead helplessly, and then talked on the phone with Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng was left hanging on the other end of the phone for a long time. After Xia Ying said hello, Yu Lingfeng said in confusion, "What happened?" "It's okay," the big turtle dove said. He wanted to run away from home. Yu Lingfeng, is this all okay? After finishing the phone call with Yu Lingfeng, Xia Ying told Chu Shengming, who was conducting experiments at the research institute, and Chu Shengming responded to her calmly. 2 hours at most, I will definitely come back. With Chu Shengming's conclusion, Xia Ying was no longer worried. So it seems that Chu Shenxiu often ran away from home when he was in country S. Can this big turtle dove stop being so childish? At the moment, Chu Shenxiu was packing himself up in his room, getting ready to go to the appointment handsomely and running away from home. Today's 4th update. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 369. Chapter 369, Leave Zihu to me to transform. Not long after Chu Shenxiu left, Yu Lingfeng suddenly came over with 11 Ju. When Xia Ying saw Yu Lingfeng and 11 Ju appearing at the door of the piano room, she was slightly startled, and the piano music stopped abruptly. Xia Ying looked at Yu Lingfeng, who was walking towards her with a cold face, and 11 Ju, who was looking at her with his mouth pursed and his watery eyes blinking aggrievedly. Xia Ying frowned. What's with 11 Ju's expression? Moreover, Yu Lingfeng's serious look seemed to be that of Qiu Huwenzhen, who was escorting the prisoner over. Xia Ying stood up from the piano, looked at Yu Lingfeng in confusion, and asked, "Yu Lingfeng, what's the matter?" Yu Lingfeng took a deep breath, looking half helpless and half angry. He glanced sideways at 11 Ju and said coldly, "You can speak for yourself." I. 11 Ju hesitated for a long time, lowered his head, and couldn't explain what was going on. Xia Ying was even more stunned. Is there something wrong with the sound system? Yu Lingfeng frowned. No. No. 11 Ju quickly adjusted his expression, looked at Xia Ying aggrievedly, and said, "I was caught by my master while reading comics." "What comics?" Yu Lingfeng on the side spoke coldly. Dan Mi comics." After 11 Ju finished speaking, he swallowed weakly. "But aren't you undergoing transformation?" Xia Ying is confused. He pretended to be a well-modified person, only to revert to his original form when I wasn't around. Yu Lingfeng looked like he hated iron. "What does that have to do with me?" Yu Lingfeng was suddenly so serious, Xia Ying was a little frightened. Even if she caught 11 Ju secretly reading comics, why would he go all the way to grab 11 Ju and tell her about it? Yu Lingfeng's face darkened and he looked at Xia Ying with a complicated expression, "Because 11 Ju stole those comics from you." Xia Ying was shocked. She had been obsessed with studying and practicing music every day these days, and she hadn't read comics for a long time. "So I don't know if my comics are lost." "Zihu, you shouldn't have taken my collector's edition, right?" Xia Ying turned serious in an instant and asked seriously. 11 Ju suddenly felt that he was not a human being, and said weakly in a low voice, I just got a set. Just a set of. Xia Ying took a breath of pain. Did he know how long it would take her to collect a set and how difficult the process was? Those were all her collector's editions. Ziyu took them as soon as he said they would, heartbroken. Yu Lingfeng frowned and said, the topic has gone astray. Forget it, I'll settle the score with him later. Xia Ying said to Yu Lingfeng with some embarrassment, Yu Lingfeng, actually Denmei comics are not what you think. How to explain Denmei comics to a straight man? Xia Ying felt helpless. I've seen it. But it's not what you understand, Xia Ying continued, it's just a comic form. It doesn't mean it's perverted or anything like that. You want me to know that this world is still very compatible. Homosexuality and so on. It's all normal. No, that's not what I meant. Yu Lingfeng reminded again, 11 Ju is different from you humans. 11 Ju's thoughts are influenced by the outside world. After being indoctrinated by certain thoughts, he cannot change. Yu Lingfeng did not continue. Xia Ying smiled. Yu Lingfeng was afraid that 11 Ju would bend. You must know that Yu Lingfeng's original intention of designing the male robot was also for convenience. If 11 Ju goes astray in the future, it will bring a lot of unnecessary trouble to Yu Lingfeng. Thanks to the little cutie Yu Sheng for the reward. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 370. Chapter 370 Yu Lingfeng, are you going home? Yu Lingfeng saw Xia Ying laughing so hard that she covered her mouth with her fist and coughed to remind Xia Ying to stop. Xia Ying gradually stopped talking, and then said to Yu Lingfeng, okay, then you can give 11 Ju to me for transformation. 11 Ju was stunned and stared at Xia Ying with wide eyes. He thought Xia Ying was an ally, but Xia Ying sold him out for her master. I think so too. Yu Lingfeng nodded slightly. To be honest, he felt that he had completely despaired of 11 Ju. It's easy to change a person's nature, and it's hard for 11 Ju to read comics every day or two. If he wants to force him to stop, it's as difficult for him as drug addiction. 11 Ju has been storing it with you for a while. I also need to be clean for a while. Yu Lingfeng said with profound meaning. Storage. It has been several months since Ronkai received the signal of the witch's return, but the witch has no intention of coming out. Rongxi's heart was in his throat. While he didn't want her to come out, he also wondered why she hadn't come out. That woman is so scary, I don't know what she is plotting. Therefore, Rongxi came to see Yu Lingfeng some time ago and asked him to help him find the whereabouts of the witch. If the other party doesn't come out, Rongxi won't be able to bear it anymore, so he might as well take the initiative and find her. Stopping her behavior before she does anything harmful can be regarded as saving society. As for the matter about the witch, Rongxi said that he should hide it first, so Yu Lingfeng just put 11 Ju in Xia Ying's place so that he could act more easily by himself. Qingjing. Yu Lingfeng, where are you going? Xia Ying suddenly caught this keyword. Yu Lingfeng frowned slightly, no, I just want to be alone for a while. Xia Ying disagreed. She always felt that it was not that simple. Yu Lingfeng and 11 Ju have always been inseparable, but this time Yu Lingfeng suddenly handed 11 Ju over to her. Xia Ying always had a bad feeling. She always felt that Yu Lingfeng was going to do something, and when she just asked, she could clearly see the shock in Yu Lingfeng's eyes for a moment. Xia Ying already knows that Yu Lingfeng is an alien. Does that mean that Yu Lingfeng is leaving? Xia Ying thought of this and quickly asked, Yu Lingfeng, are you going home? I mean, going back to your original place. Yu Lingfeng looked at the panicked look in the girl's eyes across from him, and felt soft in his heart. Yu Lingfeng stared into Xia Ying's obsidian eyes and said firmly, "No. Then if you feel homesick one day and want to go back, please tell me, okay?" Yu Lingfeng does not belong to the earth in the first place. He has been away from home for so long, so he will miss him to some extent. Moreover, it is natural to miss home and want to go back. Xia Ying can understand it. She is just afraid that Yu Lingfeng will suddenly leave without saying goodbye. Xia Ying thought about the Korean drama My Love from the Star that she watched in her previous life. Will Yu Lingfeng be like Professor Du and have to go back in the end due to some force majeure factors? Yu Lingfeng frowned, missing home? Why? Ah. Xia Ying didn't understand the meaning of Yu Lingfeng's words. Yu Lingfeng thought for a while, and said to Xia Ying with a serious tone, "Our planet is different from yours. There is not much family affection. Everyone is independent from birth. Parents are only responsible for raising them. After they become adults, everyone is fine. As for being homesick and wanting to go back to be with your parents again, only those who are incompetent will do this, and such people will also be looked down upon." End of this chapter.